Players are down in the feature match area. Looks like they have their hands ready. And here we go. We're going to get underway. Let's take a peek at both those players' hands. Looks like we're on 7 for Zach, and I think, well, 7 for Zach Allen. Excuse me, I'm going to have to be careful in this match. Meanwhile, Zach Kiihne also keeping 7. No one drop.
Yeah, not a lot of one-drops in the Selesnya deck. Flower Flourish to fix the mana, Legion's Landing occasionally, but that's about it.
Yep. Here's Thought Erasure from Zach. Let's see exactly what Zachary Kiihne is working with. He's pulling Gideon Blackblade aside. He knows that's likely to be the choice. Looks like a couple copies of Saproling Migration, 1 Tristani Discordant, March of the Multitudes, and a couple land. What do you think about the composition of Zach's hand?
I think it's good. This is basically what you want to be doing with Selesnya tokens. He has a couple migrations to provide some tokens, Tristani to pump them, March of the Multitudes as a big finisher. But like I said before, leading up to this match, Kai's Wrath, Cry of the Carnarium, those cards put a big damper on the Selesnya plan.
Allen is, in fact, going to take Gideon Blackblade. I have to think Kiihne's about ready to fire off that Saproling Migration. He's getting the tokens ready. Zach takes a peek at the top card of the library. He's going to keep it on top. Here's Kiihne's turn. As expected, Saproling Migration. 2 tokens enter the battlefield. Pass the turn back to Zach Allen. Takes a draw. Passes the turn back. No 3-drop. Kiihne's going to go ahead and bash for 2.
Doubling up the army here. Probably don't have to commit too much more past this. This should be enough damage to actually prompt a sweeper from Zach Allen if he does in fact have one.
Yeah, pressure has been established.
There's Kai's Wrath getting the clean 2 for 1.
And now, Kiihne going to have to rebuild. Starts tapping 1 mana, Legion's Landing. Excellent threat against these Esper decks, but no more creatures.
Yeah, if Kiihne had one more turn and was able to actually play Legion's Landing and transform it, I think that would have helped him a lot, both to have a consistent source of pressure, but also the additional land would have helped with Tristani and March of the Multitudes.
Yeah. Well, Kiihne now up to 5 lands. Zach Allen missed his 5th land drop.
And Kiihne just passing, which is very indicative of March of the Multitudes.
It is. And he's going to respond to Zach Allen's Chemister's Insight with that March of the Multitudes. And again, a battlefield has been established. 4 tokens, 3 Jerry Thompsons ready to go.
That's a scary world.
Well, my life would be so much more complicated if there were 3 Jerry Thompsons.
Mine too, probably.
Zach's turn now, thinking about how he's going to deal with this horde of angry Jerrys.
From the Esper side of things, you can basically never have enough sweepers against this deck.
Right.
The sweepers are effectively spot removal spells in the matchup because you use Cry of the Carnarium to get rid of like 1 March of the Multitudes effectively. And the spot removal spells can tag team to kind of whittle this board state down, but that's not what you want to be doing.
And Zach Allen just going to pass the turn back here. Is Kiihne going to get to flip that Legion's Landing? Very persistent threat in this matchup. Once it's flipped, that's it. Mana sink for the rest of the game.
Standard classic players. After 8 rounds of Swiss, we have
And Allen says that's unacceptable. He's going to fire off a Mortify. It's going to leave Kiihne free to smash.
First place with 20 points.
Allen's going to fall to 14.
And if Zach Allen's willing to spend a Mortify on Kiihne's main phase to get rid of that Legion's Landing. I think it's very indicative that he doesn't have another sweeper. It's possible that he was trying to bait it out, like trying to bait out the Tristani. But from Kiihne's side, I think you can probably just assume that the coast is clear. But again, this is basically enough pressure. He doesn't need to commit any more past this.
Right.
If Zach Allen finds a sweeper, he's still going to have to use it on these 4 tokens.
Can I say, too, this is exactly the thing that's going to separate a master of this archetype from someone who's just finding their way with it, is knowing exactly how much pressure to put on the battlefield at any given point.
It's all pacing.
Yep. Kiihne went ahead and fired off an end step. March of the Multitudes wants to have enough threat to take care of that Teferi, and will do so. That's going to leave the battlefield.
If you are in the top 32,
We know with Kiihne, still a Tristani Discordant in hand.
ensure that you receive your prizes.
Yeah, Kiihne's doing a great job pacing right now. Mostly just trying to commit the bare minimum to the board at all times, while also getting in some chip shots to Zach Allen and threatening a lethal attack with Tristani.
Here comes 6 damage. Zach Allen going to fall to 8 here, it looks like.
And now Zach's basically in a spot where he can't really afford to tap out any longer.
Yeah, he just passes the turn back to Zach.
So if Zach Allen uses something like a Vraska's Contempt here, he'll have 6 cards in the graveyard. Could transform that search for Azcanta, but is instead just going to jumpstart the Chemist's Insight. So no Azcanta transformation here likely.
Yeah, he kind of needs another sweeper right now.
Yeah. Could fire off Tyrant Scorn on upkeep or removal spell on upkeep if he wanted to, but
Standard classic players who are in the top
Gonna bin
32
from the search for Azcanta.
Please do not enter the line at the stage. We are currently
Tapped land, passes back to Kiihne.
man, Kiihne facing down all of his open mana, there's no reason to run Tristani into an absorb or something. Make Zach have to transform this surge, use it main phase to find another Kaya's Wrath, and then you can play Tristani once the shields are down.
Makes sense to me. Venerated Loxodon is the play here from Kiihne. Zach says, sure.
A very honest 5 mana 4/4.
Right. That's going to meet a Vraska's Contempt.
So Zach is going to have to find a sweeper eventually, but the way that he is playing ensures that he doesn't have to find it on exactly this turn.
Right.
Please report to the judge area to the right of the main
Looked like he did keep the card on top, though.
magic player.
Here comes Teferi.
Pawns. Please bring yourself to the judge area to the right of the
You can never say no to Teferi. Not if you're Zach Allen.
No, too good. Just too good. Teferi going to go ahead and plus. It is going to untap that Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, trying to get maybe an activation out of that here. And the turn heads back to Zachary Kiihne. This has been a slow and steady march from the Selesnya Tokens deck.
Of the multitudes, Brian?
Exactly, Jerry. Thank you. For once in my life, I feel heard.
I get you, buddy.
Good. Tristani Discordant was attempted. Zach Allen ready with the absorb. Jerry Thompson's going to run in, smash that Teferi.
Who wins in a fight? 1 Planeswalker or 5 Jerry T's?
It looked like Jerry T's there.
Azcanta activation picks up a Kaya's Wrath for Zach Allen, and this board is about to be reset.
Yeah, and this has got to be a tough spot for Kiihne. I don't know if he's going to be able to generate 10 points of damage from this position. Zach Allen with Azcanta the Sunken Ruin active. Only 3 cards in hand for Kiihne. One's a Tithe Taker, one's a Flower Flourish. Not quite sure what the last one is. Zach activates Azcanta the Sunken Ruin. Vraska's Contempt is revealed. Kiihne says, tap your mana appropriately. Don't forget about the Tithe.
Costs 1 more, you got to pay. greedy Orzhovs.
Yeah. Zach takes his draw for the turn. Is just going to go ahead and fire off that Vraska's Contempt. Goes up to 12 life. How does Kiihne manufacture a window here? Can he realistically?
No, it's tough. This is the spot that Esper wants to navigate into. Zach Allen has done a wonderful job, and it's possible that Kiihne could have maybe taken some more aggressive lines, not going after those Teferis, instead just trying to go face. But yeah, as Kanta finds Liliana Dreadhorde General, and this might be lights out.
Yep, kind of start ticking up. Making some 2/2 zombies. One of our off rounds, Jerry told me all about Liliana's history. I feel like I know so much more about the Planeswalker now.
4 p.m. Steel players, your round 2 parents are going.
Conclave Tribunal in hand for Kiihne.
4 p.m. Steel players, your round
We're just going to go ahead and fire that off, but handful of Dovin's Vetoes for Zach Allen. Is going to cast one, just passes the turn back, does Kiihne.
Kiihne's just going through the motions at this point. There is very little that he can do. I think if Zach did not have the Thought Erasure on turn 2 to get rid of the Gideon Blackblade, we'd be seeing an entirely different game.
Great point. Absolutely. So Zach's going to start trying to take down Kiihne's massive life total, currently at 41 life, thanks to all that life link on the Selesnya token side. Here's another Teferi. It's going to plus. Another card enters Kiihne's grip, or excuse me, Allen's grip. 2 lands on tap. Pass the turn back to Zachary Kiihne. Praying for a miracle in his deck, but he's given up the goose. Not going to happen today. And Zach Allen up a game in this matchup, Esper Control versus Selesnya tokens.
Not surprising.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Allen gets some good tools in post-board games. Why don't we go ahead and look at the sideboard for Zach Allen. He's packing 3 Thief of Sanity, 3 Duress, 2 Teferi Time Raveler, 2 Cry of the Carnarium, has to be a key card here, 1 Ugin the Ineffable, 1 Oath of Kaya, 1 Moment of Craving, 1 Enter the God Eternals, and finally, 1 Dispark. Jerry, what do you like on Zach's side?
So the spot removal spells are definitely at their weakest, but things like Enter the God Eternals have a big enough impact on the game where you gain some life, you take out one of maybe the key creatures like a Venerated Loxodon, Tristani, you're left with this 4/4 blocker behind. I like that card a lot. Things like Oath of Kaya, I don't think Zach Allen is really that interested in. Cry of the Carnarium, as you noted, is going to be great. I know a lot of Esper Control players lean on Thief of Sanity in these white creature matchups, and I would expect that to be the case here. And then the Selesnya Tokens deck is actually spell heavy enough that I think you might actually want some copies of Duress.
Yeah, I could buy that. I could buy Duress in this matchup. Meanwhile, over on Kiihne's side, we are looking at 3 Night of Autumn, 2 Return to Nature, 2 Prison Realm. Cool new card from War of the Spark, 2 Krull Harpooner, 2 Baffling End, 2 Ajani Adversary of Tyrants, 1 Vivian Reed, and another copy of Gideon Blackblade. Jerry, it's Planeswalker time, right?
Yeah, all 4 of those Planeswalkers are going to be very key cards in this matchup. Maybe Kiihne wants some copies of Prison Realm to deal with his opponent's Planeswalkers. Also, they can deal with Thief of Sanity.
Yep.
And to that end, I definitely want the Krull Harpooners for Thief of Sanity and just as an additional beater. You could look at things like Night of Autumn as a way to kill Search for Azcanta, but it's not going to line up very well very often.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Zachary Kiihne, of course, the Selesnya Tokens master, and if you're looking to get your hands on some very cool tokens you could use to play the Selesnya Tokens deck, you know you got to check out our creature collection. Of course, there's playmats, sleeves, occasionally produce some tokens. This one, Fur Queen and Country. Look at that adorable little corgi there, Jerry.
It's not bad. I think Michael Majors would be interested in this.
Yeah, he's a corgi fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are, right?
Right. I'm a fan of all dogs, but this in particular, very, very cute corgi. Go.starcitygames.com/creature collection. You can find out more about Fur Queen and Country. Both players just shuffling up here.
4 p.m. Sealed Magic players, your round 2 pairings are going up at the pairings board. Again, 4 p.m.
Looks like Zach's still consulting his sideboard.
Well, you play 15 rounds, maybe not in Zach's case with a couple of buys, but you play 15 rounds. By the end of the tournament, you're generally really well versed in a lot of the common matchups, but Selesnya Tokens isn't one of them.
Right, yeah, there's just nobody playing this deck here today.
I don't think that you have a plan for this deck coming into this tournament.
Standard classic topic.
No, I honestly don't see how you could. Meanwhile, have some results from one of our other tables. Ethan Gajewski, 2-0 over Edgar Magayesh.
Smashed him.
Yeah. You know Edgar liked his mono red matchup, but Ethan just had all the goods. Real quick 2-0. Moving on to our semifinals is Ethan Gajewski. The first of the mono red decks advances.
Yeah, these mono red players are making it look easy.
I think there may be 3 mono red decks in the semifinals. I think that is completely possible.
Yeah, the other 2 red decks are both playing against the Bant mid-range decks, which I agree with you. I think the red decks are favored. And then, yeah, we have the winner of Esper against Selesnya Tokens.
Mm-hmm. How does Selesnya Tokens fare against mono red?
I think people say it's good, but you still need a lot of your cards to line up really well. Like, you need to do your tokens thing early and often, Venerated Loxodon, Tristani Discordant. But if the red deck is able to, like, Chain Whirler you at a key time,
right,
or, you know, just keep you from amassing a large enough board state, I think it's pretty easy for the mono red deck to actually beat you.
Yeah, it feels a little draw dependent, quite frankly.
Yeah, for sure.
If your cards line up with what this Selesnya player is doing, kind of easy to overwhelm them. Just Chain Whirler, wiping their board, picking off their key threats.
And the red deck is so redundant, it's going to do its thing basically every game. And Selesnya has, you know, some cheaper cards, but also some more expensive cards. You can't really afford to flood on things like Tristani, March of the Multitudes. You can't draw a bunch of Convoke things without enablers. So I think the onus is on Selesnya to actually put forth a very, very strong draw, and that doesn't happen all the time.
I agree with you. Meanwhile, over Zach Allen's shoulder, you see Rudy Brisca, unfortunately picking up his cards in defeat. Collins Mullen, second of our mono red players, moves on to the semifinals, defeats Rudy Brisca 2-1. A lightning fast 3 games over on that back table.
Yeah, we barely got through 1 game here.
Right. You know, I think you can account for the mono red matchup as the Bant players. I think you have to make some sacrifices. I think the hard target was on Simic Nexus going into this tournament.
Absolutely.
And I think rightly so. I think players appropriately responded to that threat. Maybe next week, Bant retools, comes back ready for mono red. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I saw some players doing the normal Bant things where you board in some package of like Shalai and Lyra and that sort of stuff, maybe Night of Autumn, but the red decks are so good at fighting through that stuff generally.
They can be. You know, you don't see a lot of Fight with Fire these days. That's a card that's kind of faded out of existence. So we'll have to see how that matchup evolves. Looks like Zachary Kiihne is on a mulligan here. Put his top card on the bottom of his library. Not sure if Zach Allen is on 6 or 7 here. Gonna play an untapped Shockland, though. We know what that means. It's duress time. And we're gonna see a hand of Gideon Blackblade and 2 Saproling Migrations, as well as a land. And I think that bottom card is the second land.
Yeah, Sun Petal Grove. Basically the same hand as last time. 2 migrations, Gideon, except this time Zach Allen opting to go after one of the migrations, which probably leads to something like Dovin's Veto or maybe a Thought Erasure on turn 2.
Exactly right.
He feels like he has this Gideon covered.
And here is the turn 2 Saproling Migration again. Going to put those 2 1/1s onto the battlefield for Kiihne. Zach Allen takes the turn back. What is the turn 2 play? I think I see a second copy of Duress in hand. But it's going to be Thought Erasure here. Reveals Vivian Reed. That could matter if the game goes long. But for now, the target's Gideon Blackblade.
Well, with Zach Allen having access to another discard spell, your opponent drawing a 5-mana non-creature is probably the best possible scenario for you.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. I think Kiihne is already at the stage where he really needs some help off the top of the deck here. Maybe a top deck Gideon, something like that to just get back some pressure here. 2 Saprolings attacking. Land comes into the battlefield and just passes back to Zach Allen. And we know Allen already with duress. Think that was Kaya's Wrath off the top.
That's not bad. Don't need to pull the trigger quite yet. These Saprolings aren't that threatening.
Plenty of time for Allen.
Yeah, probably wait for Kiihne to commit at least another card to the board.
Kiihne's going to tap 4 mana here for a Johnny. But Zach Allen ready with the Absorb. Going to go up to 19 life. Saprolings come rumbling in. Going to fall to 17. Only 1 card left in hand for Kiihne, and we know there's duress waiting for Zach Allen. Can just clean it out now if he wants. He will. Duress is cast. No more cards in hand for Kiihne. Only 2 Saprolings on the battlefield, but a Ray of Hope. Zach Allen misses his 4th land drop. And finds it.
Again, I think Kiihne had a slight window there to peel a big threat.
Right there with you. Here's Allegiance Landing.
That's not bad.
Let's see if that resolves. Let's not forget, though, Allen still with Kaya's Wrath in hand. Can go ahead and clean this up on his turn if he so chooses. Does leave him vulnerable to whatever that final mystery card in Zachary Kiihne's hand may be. Legion's Landing is going to stick. But Zach Allen going to go ahead and cast Tyrant Scorn, dealing with the 1/1 life linking token. I like that play.
Yeah, I do too. That keeps Kiihne off of transforming the Legion's Landing and makes it so you don't necessarily have to pull the trigger on this Kaya's Wrath quite yet.
And now here's Teferi on the battlefield. What does Kiihne have as a response? Going to start with the Saproling migration. Now 4 Saprolings on the battlefield. 2 of them are going to rumble in just as Zach Allen needs to pressure here.
Yeah, Kiihne changing up his strategy from last game. And I think this makes a lot of sense because you don't have a clear way to actually remove the Teferi from the battlefield, whereas last game it was mostly just, dying in the same attack step, right?
So Teferi ticks up, and it's Kaya's Wrath time. That is going to do with all 4 of those Saprolings. Head to the end step, untap 2 lands, 3 mana at the ready. Kiihne only has tapped land as a follow-up, and I think the writing's kind of on the wall here. It's going to be almost impossible for Kiihne to recover from this position.
Yeah, mulliganing on the play is not what you want in a grindy matchup like this, and Zach Allen did miss his 4th land drop, but aside from that, had a very, very good start with Duress into Thought Erasure into Absorb.
Yep, into duress after that, by the way. Just completely blunting anything Zachary Kiihne can hope to do. And now Ugin has entered the battlefield. How about a kick Saproling migration? Zach Allen has the Absorb, and that's going to do it. Zachary Kiihne has seen enough, extends the hand. Zach Allen, our 3rd semifinalist, moving on over Zachary Kiihne, 2 games to 0 with